Students of the Universities of the Gambia School of Applied Science, Technology and Engineering invent solar pump irrigation system. An attempted hacking on the Central Bank of the Gambia fails. Government says critical systems not compromised. And a state meet at the COP27 in Egypt as an agreement is yet to be reached. This and more coming up. Hello, and you're watching the World Today newscast with me, Yahya Jammeh. Thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Students of the University of the Gambia School of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology have invented a solar pump irrigation system capable of addressing the challenges of lack of electricity and fuel for agriculturists, particularly in remote areas of the Gambia. The students displays their innovation work in a post-exhibition on Thursday at the ongoing 8th edition Eyeafrica Higher Education Center of Excellence for Development Impact and regional meeting held here in Banjul. Moses Imen was there and he files us this report.
The 8 Higher Education Centers of Excellence for Development Impact, otherwise known as ACE Impact, is currently holding a regional meeting here in Banjul. The 4-day meeting, which kicked off on Tuesday, aims, among other things, to create a platform for the exchange of ideas and expertise in the fields of science, engineering, and technology, thereby promoting sustainable growth and development of Africa. There were exhibitions on Thursday during which students from the UTG School of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, USET, unveiled a solar pump irrigation system they invented. This invention is sure to consolidate the government's commitment to prioritizing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, otherwise known as STEM. The agricultural sector, the backbone of the Gambian economy, stands to gain tremendously from such innovations, especially at a time when there is a renewed call to strengthen and revitalize the sector. A solar-powered irrigation system beats both the lack of fuel and electricity and can come handy especially for rural farmers. Women in particular stand to benefit more from such inventions. They are responsible for the production of the bulk of the foodstuff consumed in the country. And Fonday Jeligay, one of the co-inventors, the days when women had to physically draw water from wells to water their crops may just be about to end. She gives more detailed explanation about the solar pump.
This is the solar pump irrigation system. So we have two solar panels here connected in series. So the solar panels, we have two cables coming from the panel, which is the positive and the negative cable, which is connected to the controller, directly to the controller. Then that when the sun is hot, it will hit the panel and then it will convert from solar cells to electricity. Then there is where we generate the pump from. We connect the pump to this machine and then put the pump inside the water, inside this tank. Then that will pump the water up. We have two pipes, the inlet pipe and the outlet pipe. So the inlet pipe is connected directly to the pump, while the outlet pipe is connected directly to the system in which irrigation will take place.
The current crisis in Ukraine has meant that global food prices have risen beyond the means of most people in the developing world, the Gambia included. It is therefore of necessity for government to strategize and find practical ways of ensuring food self-sufficiency for Gambians. Christine Musa is also a co-inventor of the solar pumping system, and she enumerates some of the advantages of their project whilst calling for more government support.
We want help. Once the Gambian government helped this project, this is just an initiation project. This project is very reliable. When this project sponsored, it's very reliable because it's a solar, not electricity. If you go to other remote villages, they do not have electricity. So they only use the solar. And this solar, but with sponsors and help, the women that are doing the garden at the rural area will have sponsors. Give them the solar panel, then you fix it for them. They don't need to buy fuel because it will not take fuel. Once the machine is inserted into the tank, it's no fuel. You have less work to do there. Just on the drip, on the travel, and the water will spread throughout. And it is less costly. After you insert all this, there's no problem, unless if there is any problem with the pipes, then you change it.
The Africa Higher Education Center of Excellence is a World Bank project that aims to build capacities of universities to deliver high-quality training and applied research, as well as meet the demand for skills required for Africa's development. Moses Imendi reporting.
Students of the University of the Gambia School of Applied Science, Engineering and Technology, they invented a solar pump irrigation system. Now, rumors circulating earlier this week about an attempted hacking of the Central Bank of the Gambia have finally been confirmed by Ibrahim G. Sankore, the Gambia government spokesperson and presidential diaspora advisor, in a press release issued on Thursday. Now, the press release stated that the hacking attempt took place on the 10th of November, and that after an initial investigation, it was realized that one server was affected, which was then isolated. Now, the government of the Gambia reassured citizens that efforts are being taken to determine the nature, the source, and also the extent of the incident. Now, the release ends by stating that investigations are continuing and that the central bank is fully operational and will continue to ensure the stability of the national payment systems. Now, from the government statement on the attempted hacking of the country's central bank system, we will visit the climate change summit wrapping up in Egypt, which, however, shows that government ministers and negotiators from nearly 200 countries are scrambling to build consensus on an array of issues critical to looking in the climate emergency. Now, the success of the UN booked talks in as likely to hinge on whether policymakers can agree to establish a new funding system to support victims of climate disasters and slash planet warming emissions. It comes amid growing calls for rich countries to compensate vulnerable people as it becomes harder for many people to live safely on a warming planet. Let's hear details of that in this report.
Solutions might have been the theme at COP27 on Thursday, but solutions are hard to come by as the summit nears its end.
We always come out with any COP with very many promises, but the achievement is little. So I think really I cannot say I'm optimistic.
Germany stepped in with more financial support as a sign of intent.
Today I'm here to tell you, as the German foreign ministers, we hear you. And we have understood. Germany is raising its contribution to €6 billion per year. But even the 100 billion are just a drop in the ocean when we look at what is needed.
However, a statement by the COP presidency outlining initial outcomes here has failed to impress.
If you look at the draft decision text, the cover text which they are talking about is completely empty, because a text without promise for money for climate finance, then we don't believe that that is a text which can stand the test of time.
And many, especially in Africa, are now looking towards China as a credible climate partner.
Last decades, they play a very major role in providing financing for many projects in all African countries. There is no one in the world they have a position like China to help Africa.
Government ministers and negotiators attending the COP27 are still scrambling to agree on issues critical to tackling climate emergency. Now we are now heading to the General Assembly as the Secretary General of the WHO in the latest health briefings has informed the UN General Assembly that the World Health Organization is working with Qatar and FIFA to ensure a healthy World Cup. Now, WHO said it will work with the host country, Qatar, to decide measures to reduce the risk of disease transmission, especially COVID-19. The world's attention is currently focused on Qatar, with the opening match to be staged on Sunday between the host Qatar and Ecuador. Details of that in this report.
Qatar is hosting one of the most significant sport events in the world, the FIFA Men's World Cup, starting from the 20th November to the 18th December 2022, a first ever for any Middle Eastern country. More than 1.5 million people from all continents are expected to visit the country during the World Cup period, resulting in the most significant influx of people in the nation. This huge number may pose a substantial threat to public health due to imported infections. Moreover, mass gatherings like sports or religious meetings are known to cause the spread of infections both among visitors and the local population. Against this backdrop, the World Health Organization said it is working with Qatar, the host country, and FIFA to promote physical and mental health for everyone. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is WHO Director General.
WHO is working with Qatar and FIFA to deliver a healthy World Cup with a range of activities to promote physical and mental health for all people in Qatar and around the world. Together, we have designed measures to reduce the risks of disease spreading at the World Cup, including COVID-19.
A total of 32 teams will take part across 64 matches over 29 days. Meanwhile, looking into the Ebola outbreak in Uganda, WHO said 6 cases have been confirmed and 1 probable case of Ebola in Uganda, bringing the total to 141 confirmed and 22 probable cases. There have also been 2 more confirmed Ebola deaths and 1 probable death, for a total of 55 confirmed and 22 probable deaths. 73 patients have now recovered. Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus also announced that the first consignment of Ebola vaccines will be shifted to Uganda to fight against the disease.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that a WHO committee of external experts has evaluated 3 candidate vaccines and agreed that all 3 should be included in the planned trial in Uganda. WHO and Uganda's Minister of Health have considered and accepted the committee's recommendation. We expect that first dose of vaccine to be shipped to Uganda next week. A separate group of experts has selected 2 investigational therapeutics for a trial, as well as a trial design that's now being submitted for approval by WHO and authorities in Uganda.
The World Health Organization said that their partners and the vaccine developers are committed to randomizing these vaccines so that they can generate robust evidence that will allow them to know if one or more of them has efficacy. Reporting for Eyeafrica News, I am Mariama Cham.
Interesting times ahead of this year's World Cup kickoff on Sunday in Qatar. Now, Nigeria's Bureau of Statistics report shows that urban inflation stood at 21% in September 2022 from 17% recorded in the corresponding period of 2021, while rural inflation stood at 20%. The food inflation rate stood at 23% on a year-on-year basis, recording a surge. Now, the Bureau said the increase in the food index was attributed to the increase in prices of bread and cereals, food products, potatoes, yams, and other tubers, oil, and also fats. Let's hear details of that in this report.
The increase in the inflation figures does not come as a surprise. With much of the world still battling inflation and the continued depreciation of the local currency, not many are expecting any kind of easing off in the inflationary trend in Africa's biggest economy. And to compound matters, the country is still dealing with massive flooding, which has affected its food belt and seriously disrupted supply.
And what this flood simply means is a possible rise in inventory stock by suppliers of food or those who are responsible for farm to market. And taking also into consideration that the Christmas period is around the corner, plus the fact that Q1 is going to be heavy on elections, it's really a call for worry what the future is.
Nigeria's central bank's response to the rising inflation rate has been to raise benchmark interest rates. It's done so on 3 occasions, and the bank's governor has warned that rates could be raised further as the inflation figure continues to rise.
You raise rates, you don't raise rates, you remain mute. What will happen is that consumption, eventually you'll find that consumption and investment expenditure will be affected because purchasing power of the citizens of the consumer will erode and completely possibly dissipate. Or you will also see that once inflation continues to bite, what you can buy with, the quantity of goods you can buy with some money will reduce. And that is what also helps to increase the level of poverty in your country. So you don't have a choice but to raise rates.
The next Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the Central Bank is scheduled for next week. Economy watchers are waiting to see how the Apex Bank responds to the latest inflation figure.
Central banks are being conventional across board globally, raising interest rates and all that, which is necessarily not bad. It's a necessary condition to sort of try to reduce the inflationary numbers or the inflationary impact on the economy. But the nature of inflation we are dealing with is a bit non-monetary and largely unconventional as well. So meaning that it's going to require more than just interest rates, to help us really beat down or solve this inflationary menace that we face.
However the central bank chooses to respond to the latest hike in the country's interest rate, what everyone here wants to see is for prices to come down. Any economics short of that would hardly make sense to the common man on the street in this country.
Nigeria's Bureau of Statistics report shows that urban inflation stood at 21% in September 2022 from 17%. We'll take us to our first commercial break and we'll be back with more news. Stay with us.
Africa Global Wallela Estate kuda kuto fenale Gambia Banko Kang ikafa dami ya Tough City. Tough City dung be lori ngale gunjur ninsifo sila balaka. Miniti tan sabakata na airport Bumbato ikafa dami ya Banjul International Airport. Nyen Tough City mu estate wolti mi yalonko esa sabatino je ye bayimbayingo kije tulundula kende ba puru na dimbayal anda bekela estate mi yalonko hadama dungo sula ko mu fango fende kataratara dula kendo to abeba sona ya lali jele. Tough City estate wol bungol hakko tatal fo bumbuli lulu anda la fano hakko tatal fo Banjul la fano sidula fula hakko kono e ka fo mi 500 hectares. Tough City ba lori ngale lodu la kendo laka bunyi ma bal anin dadi yarim bal le batara la leje diskanto batara la mo tan lulu folo le min ba bunga sanaje diskanto min tata fo 20% nin ko mo sidula muang sidula keme hakko kono mbadi talana office Bumbato min ba Madiba Mall bo Food Gardens estate kono wala yenna telephone bundal kumandi memo plus 220 7762333 walonton plus 220 3762333 hani kabing email info@toughafricaglobal.com ala baraka.
A form of kidney damage known as acute kidney injury (AKI) was detected among children in the Gambia. This disease is fatal and has killed children in the country. The signs and symptoms include diarrhea, vomiting, little or no urination, runny nose, cough and fever. The cause of this condition in children are yet to be known. However, certain industrial chemicals found in medicinal syrups and certain bacteria in the environment can cause AKI. The Ministry of Health is advising all mothers and caregivers to take their sick children to the nearest health facility in the community, to avoid self-medication and encourage the public to continue with their personal hygiene at all times. Parents and caregivers are also advised not to give children the following contaminated baby syrups manufactured by Made in Pharmaceuticals Limited: Promethazine Oral Suspension BP, Cofex Malin Baby Cough Syrup, Mac-Off Baby Cough Syrup, and Magrip and Cold Syrups. For more information on AKI, please call 1025. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Medicine Control Agency with support from the World Health Organization, WHO.
Under the auspices of the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, the Muslim World League, in collaboration with the Gambia government, will host the Conference of African Religious Ministers and Ulamas on the 6th of December 2022. The International Islamic Conference will bring together ministers of religious affairs, leading Islamic scholars, policymakers, youths, community leaders across Africa to discuss and advance Islamic values that promote peace and tolerance. Let's come together and welcome our brothers and sisters in keeping with our trademark hospitality as the smiling coast of Africa. This message is brought to you by the ministry responsible for religious affairs in collaboration with the Gambia OIC Secretariat.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just watching, this is the World Today newscast, and now to more stories. The State House Commander Colonel Seth Njai has told the visiting Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces, Lieutenant General Yakuba Itrame, and his delegation that upon taking over in 2020, he initiated a restructuring program which included the formation of a 24-month training circle for his men, but a shortage of men, communication equipment, and uniforms was also raised. Let's hear details of that in this report by Mafuji Sise.
The State Guard Battalion comprises personnel from the military, police, and fire service, all under one command structure. The battalion provides security for the head of state and his immediate family, and in any ideal situation, these men and women should have been enjoying certain special privileges that would be envied by their colleagues in other units. But instead, they find themselves in a situation where they are often lacking in basics such as communication equipment, proper transportation, and uniforms. State Guard Commander Colonel Sednjai disclosed that when he took over in 2020, he prioritized the restructuring of the State Guard Battalion. Through such a program, more than 150 personnel, including 26 instructors, were trained on VIP protection, heavy weapons training, and convoy operations, among others. Today, both members of the military and even economic forces and civilians stationed at State House have knowledge on fire management thanks to the fire service, while acknowledging some improvements like the provisions of 2 troop carriers. Colonel Sednjai also had some requests to make.
We don't still have the required manpower that we envisage to have for the unit. So the number we have is still below the projected strength. Communication is another problem for us, particularly handheld radios, because we need handheld radios a lot, particularly during operation when we are out there in the field. We need so many of them to be allocated to the convoy and also to personnel that are deployed at various locations. Right now we have some, but they are still not enough, and we want to get some more in the near future from you, sir. Clothing is another problem. Our uniform stock is depleting greatly.
Brigadier General Turo Jaune is the commander of the Republican National Guards. He warned the troops that the army will not condone a lack of discipline and that those found wanting will not be allowed to be simply redeployed to other barracks, but instead expelled from the army.
The correspondence from your CO here informing me particularly that this particular person cannot work with us simply because of indiscipline. This is something that is not acceptable. Now, for him, he was even very flexible because all that he would do is to transfer you from here to another unit outside where you come from. This time around, we will say, no, once you are out from here, there is nowhere that you can walk. I hope you understand. This is a place that every one of you should take pride to walk here. It is not to say my right to come to State House. It's a privilege that you've been selected. Why? Because we thought you have that discipline.
Rohibite Dabo, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Defense, said during the 2 weeks tour, they met and discussed with community leaders, religious leaders, and local authorities who commended the military for its discipline.
Everywhere we go, meeting the communities, they will commend the military for the discipline, for the respect that they are showing them in terms of discharging their duties. They give them the support that they need as a community. They involve in the settle exercises. And not only that, when they have their naming ceremonies, their ngentes, when they are bereaved, the military is always there to support them. The issue of discipline and command cannot be compromised in this institution.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Yankuba Drame, called on his men to feel proud in serving their country in uniform, claiming that heaven is guaranteed for those who died while serving in uniform. He reminded the state guards of what he said was an exceptional privilege to serve in the unit.
Serving at the State House is an exceptional privilege. You were selected from a wide range of individuals with different expertise and different characters. And we felt perhaps your coming to the State Guard could make a big difference in the performance of the State Guard. In terms of discipline, in terms of teamwork, in terms of cohesion, in terms of providing the right security and timely security and protection for the first family. If you think you do not have those qualities, then the State Guard is not meant for you.
The visit to the State Guards Battalion marks the end of a countrywide tour started on the 1st of November, which took the CDS and other senior military officers and delegation to military installation across the entire country. Mafuji Sise, Eyeafrica News.
The State House Commander there, Colonel Zednya, extending challenges faced by his men in their day-to-day operations to the Chief of Defense Staff of the Gambia Armed Forces. Now, rail riding services are mobile apps in Ghana that connect passengers with local drivers who are driving their own cars, providing a convenient way to get from one point to the other. Now, it's essentially just a taxi services where the consumers request a road ride using a ride-hailing platform which acts as a middleman between the driver and their passengers. Now, drivers in the West African country explain the convenience and the efficacy of the services to them and their customers. Details in this report.
Everybody is increasing.
Emmanuel Ahin has been driving taxis in Accra for more than a decade. He has signed up for some ride-hailing applications operating in the city, but Ahin says he barely makes enough profit through their service, so he is at the new ride-hailing startup, OGB, to give it a try.
They tell me their commission is less than other ones, so that makes me feel better and happy, so that I will use this one so that I will earn more money when I'm using the app.
Ghana's public transportation sector is evolving with the introduction of ride-hailing services in Accra and other cities. The technology innovation has made it more convenient for people to move around by using ride-hailing applications on their mobile phones. Until now, most of them have been foreign companies.
All these foreign companies, when they make all this money, a chunk of the money travels outside the country. If your city is rising and it's running like Usain Bolt, who are you complaining to? Because there's a system which help these foreign companies to get all this money and take them. But to tell you the truth, about 80% of the proceeds we will make will be used for, charity, works in the country.
The OGB Ride app was developed by Ghanaians in the diaspora. They want to create jobs to help the local economy thrive. The ride-hailing market is very competitive in Ghana. Many people have at least 2 ride apps on their mobile phones so that they can choose the one with a cheaper fare when they request a ride. And the new entry, OGB, says it wants to make its service even more affordable to users. While some ride-hailing companies take up to 25% service fee from drivers on a trip, OGB says it will take 15%, but rising fuel prices in Ghana makes this a challenging time for car-based businesses. The cost of a litre of petrol has jumped from about 50 cents at the beginning of this year to $1.24 now. With more than 10 ride-hailing services operating in the country, OGB also faces stiff competition. But tech analysts say a focus on customer service could help new players enter the market.
Most of the ride-hailing services have sort of automated their support system, and so sometimes it gets to be very difficult, where you just only have to send a message if you've lost an item, if the driver misbehaves. I mean, some of the lined up issues and how quickly you get to have a response, how quickly you get to have some refunds and all those things. And I think that if there's a new ride-hailing service that's sort of coming in, they could be looking at strong customer service.
Emmanuel Ahin agrees. He hopes the OGB ride will drive a change in the transport system in Ghana as they get more people to sign up for their service.
Drivers and passengers in Ghana, they enjoying a transportation application called Hail Riding Services, which brings us to the end of this edition of The World Today Newscast. For more news, visit our social media handles on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Eyeafrica.tv. You can also visit our website on www.eyeafrica.tv. I am your presenter, Jammeh. Thanks for watching and do have a good evening.